Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Yute Room Podcast. My name is Cole.
And I'm JJ.
I'm Zeke.
And we have our guest today.
We got Renee back at it, here for the second time.
Round 2.
Welcome back.
And then we have another guest, our special guest, Quincy Banfield, in the building.
What's going on? It's tapped in.
Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about friendships and environments. But before we start, we're going to do a little icebreaker with everyone in the room. We're going to go, what do you guys do for your mental health this week to make it better?
I guess I'll jump off not jump off, I'll start us off. I'll say one thing I did, I try to read every day, something small. I know we got the book the last time we were here, so I was reading that book and I was just reading stuff online, just trying to, unplug from social media, but just still stay up to date with what's going on in the world and just enrich myself.
Thank you. I'll go myself. So what I did to help my mental health and just to unplug, I listened to a lot of music. I got my work out the way, and then after from there, just listen to music and just help me just zone out and just have fun. Yeah. What about you, JJ?
I kind of did the same thing Zeke did. I took some time today to start reading, so I read a little bit every day. It kind of helped clear my head.
Okay. First and foremost, I like what all y'all doing for your self-care. What did I do? I actually scheduled some time to watch a show. For me, I feel like self-care, you got to be really intentional with it.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise it just bakes into your everyday schedule. So for me, I'm all right, I was Monday night, I'm going to watch The Boys and from 9 till 11. And that's what I did to decompress, turn the phone off, put it away. No work, no nothing. Just focused on watching TV and being present.
That's great.
That's cool, honestly.
Finally, what about you, Quincy? What did you do for your mental health this week?
I guess this week, took care of some plants and stuff. I got a couple of house plants and everything, so did some crucial gardening. Need to get done, potting and everything. Relaxing, kind of chill.
That's lovely to hear.
That's cool.
Everyone's doing everything different. That's nice to unplug. So our first question we have today is, what is friendship? What does friendship look like? We can start from there. Zeke, go on.
What is friendship? I guess it's an agreement between two people to walk together, I should say. Definitely not formal. You don't sign a contract when you make friends with someone, but I guess it's a mutual agreement. You guys both have an understanding that this is my family, this is my friend, this is my boy, I should say, and we're just gonna do life together.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think friends are kind of just people you like to be around and you have the same mutual interests as you do, that they do. Just easygoing, really. You don't want to be around bad people, because if you don't have the same interests or you don't like being around them, are they really truly your friend?
Right.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's a mutually agreed upon social contract between two people. That's a super textbook definition of friends. But yeah, I think friends and the people that you interact with in your daily life, it gives you an opportunity to get something from them, right? Whether it's joy, whether it's laughs, whether it's wisdom. It's just the people that the pieces of people that you choose to collect and bring around you. You know what I'm saying? So that way, and then sometimes they serve you for a little bit and then sometimes they move on, right? If you guys can all think back to when you were little kids, right? The people you used to chill with as you grew up, went to university, maybe those people change. And that's cool, because now you've collected new people that can help, with certain things in your life. And as your values change, your friends change too.
Thank you.
That's true.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
I was honestly gonna say, do you guys think that you can be friends with anybody and everybody?
No. No, just to my earlier point, I feel like you don't need to have the same interests and likes, but I feel like it does help. You don't really want to be put in positions where you don't want to be just because they want to do it. Or you also don't want to go to places that they want to be, but you don't want to be. So I think just kind of finding that balance between, okay, I want them as a friend, but at the same time, I don't like doing what they like doing. I think is important.
True. You guys make such great points. I feel like what a good friend is, you guys touching everything, is I feel like it's a mutual contract between two people. and it's like a mutual agreement. Yeah, a mutual agreement between two people, and a mutual bond that you guys share similar interests. For example, if you guys both like cars, I like cars, and then another person likes cars, and then if that person likes music and I like music, hey, maybe we should like start hanging out as friends. Like, you don't say, hey, let's, like, as kids you say, hey, let's be friends, but as adults you just grow up and just start to find like your tribe, as we talked about in previous podcasts, and you just find your tribe and just continue with the people you talk to. I'm gonna pass this question on to Quincy. What do you think about what a friendship is?
Yeah, I would say like in my life, a lot of my friendship primarily are built on like trust or like support, and sometimes it is like almost situational, you know, where it's like you hang out with people in like only the same situation, like your friend that you hang out at like with ball runs, or like you only go to like parties with, kind of thing. And it's like I wouldn't necessarily take that guy to like the library or something like that, but we can definitely still do those motives together. I think it's like in those situations you can appreciate that for what it is, and like what Renee was saying earlier, where it's like you can take those pieces of those people kind of like in those moments, or even though he's just a friend that you see at the gym or something like that, he could teach you something that then you can go on and use in the rest of your life, or like with somebody who's a closer friend.
Thank you. Excellent points.
Yeah, like I really say, people really say your friends, and your friends make or break you, I should say, right? So like to your point, there's lots of things that we get to learn from our friends, things that we take in and things that we don't notice, right? Sometimes just their demeanor, sometimes the way they carry themselves, sometimes just the way they talk, we end up picking it up, you know, over time, and it makes us and molds us into who we are right now.
Most definitely. That's such a great segue into our next conversation, is what makes a healthy friendship. Because like he just said, if you're around a person like a lot of the time, like 24 hours, not 24 hours literally, but like a good majority of your time period, you're going to pick up on their movements, you're going to pick up how they speak, and then you're not going to realize you could emulate the way they talk and the way they act. And from experience, I believe that if you are around the wrong friend groups, you will not be doing the positive things. For examples, one friend group I had always used to hang out in the library, and then one friend group at lunch always used to go play basketball at the gym. In terms of, there's two different friend groups. One friend group is not doing something bad, but one's doing one thing more positive. So if I hung out with a friend group that's going to the library more, my grades will be better than if I hung out with the friend group that's always at the gym playing basketball at lunchtime, which is not a bad thing. So yeah, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
I think, like, to answer your question, like what makes a healthy friendship or friend like relationship, it's just the alignment of values, right? As Cole, as you described, right? If you're in school and your values are focused on, I need to do the best that I can in school right now, I think it's important in that situation that, like, majority of the time or the time you spend with your friends should be those friends that mirror those values, right? And for that moment, it's the friends that are like going to the library and studying. And there will be moments in time where basketball and relaxation is a higher value for you. And at that particular point, then the basketball friends are the way to go, right? But I think it all starts with the self, right? Recognizing what your values are in this particular moment or season of your life, and then surrounding yourself with people that mirror those values.
Yeah, that's so true, because JJ was even saying you need to have mutual interests, right? And like I like how you simplified that. You know, two friends, you should have like a common goal one way or another, right? And without that, like they're pulling you down or you're pulling them down, and it's just, you can't really have a friendship. You can't really operate that way. You're gonna be so much contention between the two of you guys, and sooner or later you're just gonna either drift apart or fall out, right? It is what it is there.
It's good points everyone's making. So our next question is, how do you make friends? How can you make friends with anybody, and can you make friends with anybody?
I mean, I know personally, I can't really make friends with everybody. If I initially just meet someone, 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna, like, it's only if I like see them over and over and over again will they really kind of like build that friendship and build that kind of like relationship. Yeah, any two guys?
I mean, should you make friends with everyone? Like, for real? I mean,
And your acquaintances, yeah.
Yeah. This is a question that comes up a lot in therapy, right? It's how do I make friends, right? And I don't know if you guys like baseball, but when a batter is, let's say like Vladdy Guerrero, if he's in a slump, right, and he can't hit the ball, the advice they give him is not to try, right? And I think that's true for also making friends, right? It's to be comfortable with yourself, right? And to maybe put yourself in some situations that may be slightly uncomfortable. And I don't mean like being dangerous. I mean just like putting yourself out there, like not trying to mute or change who you are. And in doing so, you will attract the people that like belong to you, right? So Cole, to answer your question, I don't think you can make friends with everyone. I think what you can do is just operate in the world in a way that's true to yourself. And those people that will be meaningful and you'll have deep friendships with will essentially gravitate towards you.
Yeah, that's so true. And you really take the pressure off of a person by telling them that, stop trying. Because once you start trying, like you begin to lose yourself, as you were saying, right? Staying true to yourself allows for the right people to to be attracted to you, I should say. Yeah, and it's true, because if not, then what are you really putting out there? It's not really you. It's not really what you stand for, and you're just hurting yourself in the end, in the long run.
It's like if you like curling, you know what I'm saying? Like wear that. You know what I'm saying? You're in the streets. You're like, I love curling. I'm wearing my curling T-shirt. Eventually, you will find someone that likes curling, and that will come to you, right? Instead of you pretending that you like basketball. You know what I'm saying? And then you're pretending to be someone you're not, and then you're attracting these people that don't really align with who you are.
I would say maybe even like go to the curling event,
Yeah.
Sometimes flying out solo like that is a good way for you to stay true to yourself when you're outside, and then also meet people, and then like we were talking about earlier, where have people gravitate towards you.
I love that, Quincy, because that's the being uncomfortable part that I'm talking about, right? It's like, imagine going to an event by yourself, right? And you just feeling like awkward and stuff, but you pushing through that to actually get there, and then opening yourself up to the possibilities of meeting like all these new people that share this interest that you have.
And can we talk about that for a second, going solo? Because like I got not to say flamed, but for going to restaurants by myself, sometimes people don't like the food I want to try, watermelon coffee, for example, acquired taste. Renee,
I don't know about all that.
I'm gonna have to put you on that watermelon Americano, Quincy. I'm not tripping.
I mean, I just got introduced to the American the espresso martini recently, so maybe I'll give it a try.
See, you're not knocking it. I appreciate that. But honestly speaking, going out by yourself, like going to an event, for example, all by yourself, some people are uncomfortable with that, especially, let's just say guys, for instance. We usually go in groups, go together. So what advice would you give someone who's trying to make more friends, meet more people, I should say, but they're scared to go out by themselves?
So in therapy, there's something called opposite action. Okay, so when we look at let's say like anxiety, for example, fear, right? What does that fear tell us to do? What's it telling you to do? For most people, it's to avoid something, right? It's to pull away, right? And how do you overcome that is by doing the opposite of what it's telling you to do. So if we're afraid and we're feeling anxious about going to this event because we're by ourselves, and all the things that are going on in our head about looking weird or whatever the case may be, right? As a therapist, I would gently encourage you to do the opposite, which is like lean into that. Go to that event, right? Yes, it's going to be awkward. We're going to accept that. However, you will find that you have skills already in place where then you can find comfort, which is through meeting people, by putting yourself out there, by talking about it. I love acknowledging it, right? If we're nervous about something, say it, right? Like doing this podcast is nerve-wracking. But just say, I'm nervous, right? And maybe someone else in this room is feeling nervous as well, and they can find comfort in that. And then, boom, that's our connection. Right?
That's true.
That's amazing. I also want to say, with making friends, I feel like you guys said it already, putting yourselves in situations that make you uncomfortable in a positive way, and meaning like what you just said, putting yourself out there. For example, for me, I love music so much, and all my friends, they don't like the same type of music that I like. So I will go to a concert by myself. So the first time I did this, I was kind of awkward. I was kind of scared. But I noticed that everyone around me, we all like the similar things. So with me being nervous, I just tended to just be by myself. But by doing that, like you said, you gravitate people that are the same values of you and you mirror what you like essentially, and then they will come to you. So I made friends ending up at the concert, and it's like if I never did that, I would never know I'd be able to go to a concert by myself type of thing.
That's true, man. That's true.
I commend you for doing that, Cole, because I know.
Thank you.
I was planning to go to a concert, and one person had something come up, didn't want to go. So I was sitting there with two tickets. One I paid for. I could have gone to the concert because I wasn't doing anything, but kind of that whole kind of fear factor, the whole kind of like awkwardness. Oh, I don't want to go to a concert by myself. So I didn't end up going.
I hear that.
But now listening to these kind of conversations, it's kind of like, oh, maybe I should have gone.
You know, I hear that because honestly, you don't know, like, you never heard anyone do that. You know, people don't talk about going out by themselves for the most part. And Quincy, like, for you even suggesting that, like, I bet you're very comfortable with doing that yourself, you know?
I say in the last, like, year, I've done it, like, twice. Same situation where, like, I had a ticket and I kind of, like, you know what? I bought the ticket in advance to be like, I'm going to commit to go. But then the day of, I was like, why did I do this, bro? It was such an L. And I still went anyways. And the experience was like, okay, because I was kind of tired from work and stuff like that. And it like wasn't that good. But I kind of ran it back, but for like a more kind of calm, like social event type thing. And that like went really well. I met a lot of cool people. And it was one of those where people were asking me, they're like, yo, like you came to this by yourself? And I was trying to play it cool. I was like, yo, like, it's just a pre-party. Like, I couldn't get people to go to this, but I'm going to the club later, you know? Like, I don't even watch that. Like, but still, like, it kind of worked out. And I was shocked, honestly, where it's like, everyone else was kind of just going to that and going to wrap up their night. But to go, just do your own thing. And then, you know, just hang out with your friends where they actually want to hang out with you later. But you still gave yourself that opportunity to meet new people and, you know, kind of be social.
And I just want to say, like, I want to ask you to see, like, what did you learn about yourself in going? Like, even if the event wasn't that great, or you didn't have as much fun as you would have had if you went someone else or went with someone else, what did you learn about yourself in going by yourself?
I think the first event that I had went to where I felt like I had a bad time, it was like I was still trying to keep to myself, but when the opportunity presented itself and people would like come up to me, I wasn't so nervous that like I couldn't talk to people, you know? Like this one lady thought I was a security guard and I was like, nah, like
yo, that's crazy.
That's tough,
man.
You know? So I was like, yo, like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you gotta put some respect on my name. Like I'm here to see the show too. And she's like, oh, you know, I started talking to her a little bit and things like that. But it's like if she didn't come over to me all confused, I definitely wouldn't have said anything. I would have been on my dolos the whole time. So I think I took that experience and then I was like, okay, at least if someone approaches me, I'm not going to fumble it. So I can at least be in a public space and it's like, fine. And it's like you use those experiences to kind of build up and then eventually you're just outside.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like growth to me, right? You go the first time, it wasn't that great, but you learned something. And then the second time, it was even better, right? Then you're able to meet people. You're able to get out there. That's growth, right?
True.
Very true. I feel like as human beings, the first time we do anything is very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I feel like once you do, it's to put it in a simple example, it's like putting your feet in the water. And if you can't swim, it's like, okay, I'm scared of the water, but I'm not swimming it. Let me just put my toe in. Maybe put your toe in. It's like, okay, cool. And now it's like, all right, let me go in the shallow end. And now you just build up and now you're in the deep end and now you're swimming and now you're just doing laps around the pool and it's fun. It's like, you've been doing this.
I have an adage. This is something I use in therapy. I use in my practice all the time. All right. So in life, right, there's always going to be pain, right? There's always going to be that level of discomfort. Okay. But it's our resistance to that pain that equals suffering. Okay. So to use your pool analogy, Cole. All right. If we're standing on a deck, right, you and me, and I'm saying, Cole, you got to jump in that water, but that water's freezing cold. Right? And you're going to stand on that deck and you're going to think about how cold that water is, right? And what's happening to you. You're suffering in that moment, right? You still got to jump in and experience that pain, right? But you're suffering while you're standing on the deck waiting, right? And whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, you're standing there, you're thinking about it, you're worrying about it, right? Well, what if you just jumped in after I told you it was cold?
Gosh.
Right? It would still be painful, but that level, the time that you suffered would be a lot shorter.
Your body would get used to it after a while. You get acclimated to it.
Exactly.
I love that.
And that's basically what it is, right? When we're doing those dolo trips, like that's what you have to do. You just got to kind of jump in, feel uncomfortable for a bit, feel that pain, and then trust that your body's gonna acclimate to it.
The week before.
I love that.
The week before, the night before.
Yeah, the night before.
I see all that.
Most definitely. So I feel like we touched on a really good point. So my next question is for you guys just to think about. How can you meet people if you realize you're part of a toxic relationship after how can you guys meet new people and you realize you're a part of a toxic friend group? So if you guys realize, oh my gosh, from listening to this podcast, my friend group, they're not the greatest. They're very negative. They're telling me I can't do stuff. And I want more, but I just don't know how. Like I don't know what to do. So can you guys give that person that advice?
That's a tough one because like you're leaving your safety net.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially the people, like you say, you grew up around them, or maybe you spend a lot of time with them. It's like yeah, where do you start? Do you just like completely cut yourself off and just find new people? Like you just fishing for people now?
I mean, as a therapist, I would ask like a lot of questions. How comfortable are you with conflict, right? Is it safe for you to leave this friend group right away, like so abruptly, right? Because there could be consequences for that. Why do you want to leave that friend group? What is toxic about them? Let's examine that a little bit, right? And then like as to go back to what we originally started talking about, doing some value mapping. So what are the things that you're interested in? What kind of people are you looking to attract? And then how can we move you into those situations so that you can attract those people?
Oh,
that's great.
That's crazy. It sounds like that. We are the most important factor in the friends that we make, but it seems like we focus so much on the other person instead. Like you guys really hammered the idea that we have to know ourselves to know who we want to be around, right? But sometimes we skip that part, and
most definitely, because I feel like what's the previous episodes we always talk about we're always looking. It's like we look outside instead of looking inwards, and it's like no one wants to be the odd person out. So we tend to mirror everyone else because we can see if we're doing, for example, if Zeke is started a podcast, I'm like, oh, that's JJ started a podcast, or Renee started a podcast. It's like, okay, I guess this is the thing to do. We're going to start podcasts now because they're herd. It's like herd mentality. We're going to start podcasts. So I feel like, what I'm trying to say, I feel like as humans, we're not comfortable sometimes being an individual and like realizing that when we are individual, we will attract instead of looking outwards. It will just gravitate to us normally.
I think it's important to recognize within your friend group too, where you're the one leading your friends, right? It's transactional. You know what I'm saying? Like our banter is transactional. I see something, you say something, right? And even with your friend groups, right, you influence them to a certain extent as much as they influence the group, right? So I think it's important to recognize that. All right, I get something from them, but they also get something from me. And I need to identify what that is. Feel me?
I think another solution that, depending on why you want to leave that original friend group, is kind of branching out and creating another friend group and using them as almost like a safety net, or having similar interests in that friend group. So you don't much have to like leave your original friends, but still having an option to hang out with people that you may have more similar interests in, but kind of like mediate the toxicity or the wantingness of leave your other friend group.
Yeah, that's true, because like honestly, me personally, I don't believe in completely burning bridges unless like it's necessary, which more times than not it's not, right? Like you don't have to. But yeah, like you just find people who you can spend more time around, honestly.
Agreed. I feel like you touch upon this. I remember I was in high school in LA, and one of my dad's friends, he's a music, not a producer, but he's like sound engineers for like movies. And then he was telling me how as he got older, he realized the people he hangs around, he doesn't have a lot of similar interests. So slowly, not right off the cold turkey, but he started cutting off people that didn't have similar interests. So he's noticed himself doing more stuff by himself and just finding comfortability just being alone instead of being around a bunch of people that you're not really too fond with anymore, or as like we said earlier in the podcast, just outgrew. So I feel like it's possible that you could find new friends.
I mean, it's going to happen. don't want to scare anyone, but I'm a little bit older than y'all. And you have your university friends, and university is, or school is that thing that keeps everyone together, right? We talked about shared interests. Well, there's no bigger shared interest than school, right? And as you like transition and progress like through life, school begins to disappear. Okay. True. And a lot of the things that I talk about, I'm going to say like a good 75% of things I talk about with Black men nowadays is like, oh man, the GC isn't popping like the way it used to when we're in our 20s. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's moving different, right? People have kids now. People have this. Like, how do I find new friends? Right. So I just want like everyone to be aware of that, is that as you like progress through life, that your friends will shift. Right. And that's why it's important to do those things like Quincy was talking about, right? To be able to flex that muscle a little bit, put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that when you do feel like you're a little bit lonely because your friends have fallen off, maybe they got a girl now and they're not spending as much time with you, that you're able to then engage, first recognize the things that you like, and then be able to engage in those things to meet new people and develop that social connection that we all need.
Cool. So you guys think it's necessary to put yourself out there and like at every point of your life, like in every stage? 'Cause I feel like the problem is we get to a point where we think we're good now. You know what I mean? I don't need to do that anymore. You know, I'm past that. You know, I'm above that. So is it necessary to engage? I say engage, not the crowds or the masses, I should say, but engage people, you know, every day. Like just make it a habit, you know, to talk to people, to meet new people, to just be friendly, I should say.
I mean, I would say I think it's important to keep on growing and being curious in life. I mean, some people are introverted and some people are extroverted. So like if you're an introverted person, doing that is going to exhaust you. Right. And if you're extroverted, then you have no problem doing that. So I more frame it as like, just keep on growing, keep on being curious about life and keep on being curious about people. And then you'll find people that share that curiosity. Right.
That's a good answer.
That's so good. So I have a question for you as a therapist. Do you find like a trend or pattern why people stay in toxic relationships? It could be friendships, it could be boyfriend and girlfriend, or so on and so forth. So like, why do you find that the people that you help just find themselves in like toxicity?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot of reasons as to why. I mean, I think to break it down simply, it's just patterns, right? We get comfortable in certain situations, okay? And what could be with certain people, right? You've been friends with so-and-so since grade 5, right? And although so-and-so is moving different and doing stuff that, you know, you don't necessarily like, it's that legacy that keeps your friendship together, right? And it's that comfort. Because like you said, like Quincy said too, and you, Cole, it's scary to go out there and meet new people, right? It's terrifying. So it's easier for us to just hang out where we are and just stay with those people, even though it's toxic. And the same thing is true for relationships, right? It's that level of comfort because the alternative or the unknown is scarier than what is known, right? So, and it's not true for every single relationship. It's different, but I think a good majority of it tends to work out that way.
No, it's true. And I also think like lack of exposure is also a big point too, because sometimes you don't know that your relationship is toxic, right? You don't take it in until like someone like sheds some light on it, you know what I mean? And like then your whole world is, you know, shaking. And it's true. It's like if you don't know, what you really don't know can't hurt you, I should say. Yeah.
When I think of toxicity, I usually think of like, especially between relationships, I think of like that the not correct balance between like mutual respect, you know? I feel like it's usually like someone's kind of taking more or someone else is giving more in the relationship and someone is okay with it, but then it's like that's where that toxicity comes from, you know? And it's like you kind of have to have that self-respect to then bring that to a relationship to then, I don't know, I guess be able to say like, put your foot down, stand 10 toes down on what you were originally doing and, you know, step out.
Yeah, and then to Zeke's point, sometimes you don't know your relationship is toxic until you find a healthy one. Sometimes you have to experience what a healthy relationship or what a relationship should look like to realize that, okay, maybe what I'm doing right now or what I did in the past isn't right or isn't where I want it to be. So I think kind of like branching out, finding those healthy relationships will help you realize what it is you're really looking for between either a friendship or a relationship.
Yeah, literally. And it goes back to Renee's point as well, like remaining curious, right? like sometimes we lose that curiosity as we grow, right? Because life becomes so dry and mundane, you know, it's same old, right?
It's complacency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think of a relationship, like a romantic relationship, right? For a lot of us, the pattern or the paradigm or the template, I should say, for a relationship is what? Our parents, right? And if that's not the healthiest, where are we going to look to find what a healthy relationship is?
Oh my God, that's true.
Right? We need to kind of branch out and explore.
That's true.
That's a great point. You made a good point in the sense that the relationships it gets mundane, it gets dry, essentially. So like, do you feel like it's essential to have conflict in a relationship? Not to say you need conflict to make the relationship exciting, but like, do you need conflict in a relationship to keep thinking, to keep your mind growing? And when I mean conflict, I don't mean negativity, you're bad, you're ugly. I mean like conflict, like, oh, why don't you do this more? Why don't you take out the garbage? Or the question is, many relationships, why are you so lazy? In the sense that they're not attacking you, it's like they want you to do more and they want you to grow. So do you feel like it's important to have relationships, or if that is like there's none of that, it's just all good all the time? Is that healthy within itself?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, it is. I think conflict is healthy, right? Within balance, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you say conflict, I hear about expressing ourselves.
Yes.
Right? Recognizing what it is that you need in that moment and having the courage to say that to someone, knowing that they may have a reaction to it. Right? And I feel like that's healthy for every relationship, right? If someone's doing something that you don't like, I think it's important that we find the strength to be able to say that. You know, that touches on so many different things, but in a relationship or a friendship, that is critical, right? Your friend says something to you that you don't like or has a view that you don't necessarily support. Like, it is important that you say that. And it brings up a good topic of like fragilization. So not to fragilize our friend group, right? If you've had a friend for X amount of years, it tells me that friendship can withstand a little bit of conflict and a little bit of stress, right? And that should give you the strength to be able to say, hey, bro, like, I didn't like the way that you talked to that lady, right? I don't like the lack of respect that you're showing to your parents, or whatever the case may be, right? So to answer your question, Cole, yes, conflict, I think, is necessary, more so the courage to be able to express what your needs and desires are and your opinions.
Yo, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
What do you think, Quincy?
I mean, this is like a tough one still, because I would say I'm somebody who kind of likes to roll with the punches sometimes, and I'll try to avoid conflict. But I feel like what you were saying, where it's normal in a relationship, right? And it's like, if I were to ever meet somebody and they're like, oh, I never have any disagreements with anyone, that to me, that would be more of a red flag. I think if you can at least acknowledge that these conflicts are happening and then work towards like a middle ground, that's more real, at least, than when people kind of try to see things with like, I don't know, like rose-colored glasses, and they're just like, oh, it's fine. I think that leads to how things will like start to build up, and then people like explode, or people will start to change on you.
Yeah, Quincy, like you touched on it. I know we're talking about friendship, but I think it's really important, because we're all black men here, that one of the biggest, I think, psychological effects of racism is that it robs us of our voice, right? So when we experience these microaggressions, right, we have been taught from a young age to just eat it and to just brush it off and to roll with the punches. And as a therapist, and from research, it states this, that one of the ways to actually get through that and to improve your mental health is by, when it's safe to do so, finding that voice and speaking up. Right? Whether it be to that person directly or to someone else, and expressing yourself, even when it's scary to do so, that is a part of the healing journey, right? And I definitely agree. There's times in which, you know, we have to roll with the punches, and times we make sacrifices in the relationship. However, if someone says something that you have a guttural response to, right, it's important that, you know, you find the courage to speak up, or you talk to someone to help you find the courage. And then, as a side note, Quincy, like, for some of these disputes, there are techniques that we can definitely go through that could help you navigate those conversations in a way that's a little more gentle, and not so much of like, you did this and I hate you.
Question. That's a very good point that you made. So, like, how would, as black males, we be facing racism? How would you suggest that to a young black male, let's say 17, he's in high school, and he goes to the mall with his friends, and they're being stereotyped? How would they go about that in a professional manner where their voices are heard? They are communicating at a clear point of view without it getting too far left.
Poof. I mean,
sorry for the
that's okay. That's okay. That's a tough one, right? Because there's so much emotions involved, right? I'm picturing a 17-year-old in a mall. Someone's accusing them of something, right? Profiling them or whatever. It's like the first thing is that, and this is like terrible, but we are obviously being judged by our actions, right? Mm-hmm. So if our intensity rises up, what happens? We're gonna have a negative outcome. Mm-hmm. So this is where like a lot of mindfulness and a lot of emotion regulation comes in to keep ourselves calm, right? Mm-hmm. And after that, I mean, that's step number one. Then if it's safe to do so, because that's not always the case, right? Then it becomes expressing yourself, right? While remaining calm and stating the injustices that you've experienced in that moment, right? If you're not able to do that directly to said person, then finding a friend, a parent, someone, a mentor, right? That you can actually have that conversation with and that can begin to advocate for you and support you in that sense. All right. But it all starts with, all right, I'm not like a model minority kind of person, right? Sometimes if you got pop off, you got pop off, but it's like
I hear that.
But it's just like in that situation, I think safety is number one.
For sure.
Right. And if you start bringing the heat, like they're going to bring it right back. Right.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So.
And honestly, like, I like how you, started with the person, you know, you need to learn how to express yourself, you know, when you're by yourself, you know what I mean? Especially like as black men, you talked about how we can contain everything within ourselves. And one day we blow up, right? And everyone's like, oh, what happened, right? But doing that in your everyday life, let's just say, me personally, I journal, right? Mm-hmm. I like to write poetry. I like to write random stuff, you know, to myself per se. Like, let's just say letters to self. Something I started doing back in high school. That, for example, helps me stay calm in some like tight situations because I said, oh, you know what, it's not that bad. I'm going to go journal about it when I go home, right? But it's also necessary for a relationship because expressing yourself in a positive way, I should say, just reminds you that you have a goal in mind when you're expressing yourself, right? You're not just expressing yourself just to express yourself, which is not bad, but like you said, sometimes it's not safe to do so, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're just talking anyhow in that moment, for example, in the situation Cole gave, it could end up getting you in trouble, right? End up getting you into hot water. So find that safe place where you are amongst friends, right? And when you are amongst friends, you should be able to express yourself freely, right? I always have the saying, if you can't tell me that my outfit looks bad, I don't think, you know, you're my friend. Or if you can't tell me I got something on my face, I don't think you're my friend, right?
That's a good point.
Because you're supposed to have my back, right?
Yeah.
But like, yo, the barber messed up my fade. You didn't say nothing, right? You see the problem right there. You see something's wrong, but you're not letting me know, right? So I think that's also a red flag, as Quincy was saying. You can't always have, you know, I should say, I'm not gonna say rainbow world, that's kind of crazy, but you can't always have like a peaceful world, I should say. Right. And it's necessary to have that conflict. You need to butt heads about something because, you know, you're not perfect. You know, you have a flaw, one or two, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. We're going to switch topics. We're going to talk about environmental now. So I'm going to stay on that topic a little bit too, but how does your environment influence as a person? So say you don't have the best environment, say you don't have the best parents, and like, so your role models are not good. You step outside and then your environment is also not good. You go to school, you're a good student, you're learning, but everything that's around you is just chaos. So like, how does that affect students and a person? So like, so the question is, how does your environment influence you as like a person overall?
Quincy, you want this one?
Yeah, I would say I can have like a pretty big influence on you in my, like, even throughout my work and stuff. It's like, you can see how there's a lot of systemic stuff that goes on, and people will experience things on an individual level, and they'll feel like all their problems are their own fault. And a lot of the times there's so many like outside forces working on them, and it's like they really have to take that bigger picture and look at it from that larger system. So if you like, because I don't even want to tell them that they could solve it individually sometimes, but it is like you can put yourself in a way better mental state if you understand what you can solve and what's stuff that's like in your life because you brought it into your life versus like things that you were born into or like based off your geography and a lot of stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, that's true, because then you get to the understanding where, okay, not everything is my fault, but I can still do something about it, right? Because when you think everything is as a result of your own actions or your lack of action, sometimes you won't do anything. You know, you think everything you do is like useless per se. You know, you think you can't move forward, I should say. And it's bad on the mind for real, and it can put you in a really dark spot where you can't really do anything, right? Yeah.
To Renee's earlier point, how we base our actions with what we see. If you do grow up in an environment that isn't the safest or isn't the healthiest for you, you're gonna think that's normal. That's when you grow up, if you don't see anything else, you're gonna think that's just normal. That's just
The way it is.
It's life. It is what it is.
Exactly.
And then so I think environment, it does have a very big impact on how you are and who you grow up to be. I don't know if Renee has any points.
Yeah, I mean, man, Quincy, like you hit it. Like that awareness piece is like it's huge, right? Recognizing that, you know, these external forces have like played a pivotal role in shaping like who you are, like everything, even our style, the way we speak. We've all been socialized to do this, right? And like recognizing where society ends and we begin, like that is like definitely the first step in being able to overcome that stuff. Right. I mean, like, to be honest, like the chips are stacked against us. Right. And how do you break free of that is like exactly what Quincy said. Like first recognizing it, and then we can build some steps in how to like get past it all.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Agreed. Everyone's making such great points. So I want to touch on this thing that I learned. This Moscow theory that I learned in school. So I go to school for social service worker. And I found this interesting. It's called the Moscow hierarchy theory, and there's the top. It's called the top. It's called self actualization, and then it goes self-esteem, love and belonging, safety and security, psychology needs. So this is the Google definition. Needs lowered down in the hierarchy, so that psychology needs in the hierarchy must be satisfied before individuals can attend to needs higher up. From the bottom of the hierarchy upwards, the needs are psychology, safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. The 5-stage model can be divided into deficiency, needs, and growth. So I feel like learning the hierarchy, it made me understand how environmental is so important to us as humans, because like you guys said, if you grow up in a crazy environment to a non-crazy environment, you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference if you grew up in a crazy one and until you go to a good environment, and vice versa. So if you grow up in a good environment, you're going to be able to tell what a bad environment is. So I feel like what Quincy said and Renee said, like, and everyone's saying all together, I feel like we're all collectively saying how environmental, it makes a difference and it influences you as a person, because everything, the way we, like you said, the way we talk, the way we dress, is everything environmental. So yeah. So our next question, or if anyone didn't want to speak more onto that.
I feel like you made a good point about self-actualization, and I think that to me that seems like a big part of where people are right now, especially with like there's a lot of movements, there's a lot of like organizations, and it's that next step where I think we either get stopped, we face roadblocks and things like that, either through like federal agencies, governments, and even just like other like people and other like public community groups and things like that. And it's a matter of like kind of like or at least using the hierarchy to address that next step. You know, I feel like that's where we're kind of at now.
Yeah, agreed. Anyone else? No, or
Yeah, honestly, but like touching on what Quincy was saying with self-actualization, you can have your physical needs, yeah, or maybe you don't have your physical needs. I like how it's called a hierarchy, but it seems like everything is necessary to be like a balanced person, right?
yes,
And not to say one is more important than the other. I feel like it just shows you need your physical needs to be fulfilled, to I guess properly go through self-actualization, right? Because you won't be able to fully focus on yourself. You'll be too busy worrying about, when's the next meal coming, which is true. You're supposed to worry about that, right? But yeah, let's go into relationships to be a balanced person, to be a well-rounded person. It is important to be able to look into yourself and know who you are for sure.
I mean, I think it's important with Maslow's, though, is that below self-actualization is self-esteem, right? And that kind of touches on everything we've talked about today, right? It's, all right, love and social connection, right? It's really, really important. And then once we're able to achieve that, then we have that self-esteem, which is that exploration, that curiosity, that knowing thyself. And only then, after we know ourselves, can we actualize. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be able to build that confidence within who we are in order to achieve that, because the self-actualization is the ultimate goal, right?
Oh wow, that was really well said. So I just want to ask another question here. So since we are we hit like the hierarchy needs, and we know what the hierarchy needs, and like we're aware of ourselves, we know our friend group, and like we know ourselves. How do we go about the conflict when our friends hurt our feelings and like break that trust and break that trust and like breach that trust? So like, how do we go about that as a friend, as a whole healed person?
So like, I guess just for clarification, the question is like, how do we like have that conversation with that
how do we
friend?
have the conversation with a person? Like, how do we deal with it internally as well?
Internally? Okay. Okay, I'll start external and I'll go, actually, I'll kind of wrap it all together. But, all right, I just want everyone to remember the acronym DEAR, DEAR. Okay. That's all I want you to remember. Okay. So when we're having a conversation with someone, we just want to follow these simple steps. We want to first describe what has happened, right? In plain words and language. I want you to describe. So, A, I would like to talk to you about something that you said last week. Okay. E, I want you to express what you're feeling. I feel XYZ. Okay. A stands for being assertive. So we're not going to back down. It doesn't mean being aggressive or rude. This means this is where you're going to feel a little bit nervous. This is where you're going to be like, oh man, do I really want to say this? But this is where you're going to stand your ground, right? And you're going to say, you know, I do not appreciate you saying this, or I don't, blah, 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 right? And then R stands for reinforce, okay? And this is, I think, the most important part, the reinforcement part, is that you want to say why talking about this is important for your friendship. It's critical that we address this right now because it will make our friendship deeper. So now they have a vested interest to address this. It's not just you expressing your feeling. It's like, hey, we need to address this because this is between you and I. And for us dealing with this together, we are going to deepen our friendship, which is, I know, something that you value. Feel me? So I want you just to remember DEAR, DEAR, right? Describe, express, assert, and reinforce. All right. And you follow that little template, then your conversation should go relatively well. There's some people out there that just, not willing to accept anything, but it should go really well. Okay. While we're doing that, we just want to remain mindful. So kind of like the thing that we talked about with, the 17-year-old in the mall that gets accused of some stuff, right? We want to be mindful of what we're feeling. Again, don't want you to avoid it. I want you to embrace it. You have a right to be upset. You were slighted, right? You have a right to be upset, to feel what you're feeling. There's no such thing as bad feelings, right? You have a right to it, and you have a right to express that feeling. Okay? We just want to do it respectfully. That's the only caveat, right?
Yeah, and that was a powerful statement you shared. Like, honestly speaking, I liked how you made a difference between being assertive and being aggressive, right? Especially as Black men, you might have a fear of being aggressive, right? When you're expressing yourself, but it is okay to put your foot down and just exercising self-control when you are doing so. and expressing yourself in an appropriate manner. And you really did give us the practical tips that are necessary to, just handle conflict in a relationship, because any good person will accept that, right? And as we are getting to the end, what is one good quote or anecdote I guess you could give concerning friendships, like something short and sweet that we can give to our viewers?
Friendships, oh man. I mean, the only thing that really came up is Brene Brown. I know it's a little problematic, but it's like pain that isn't transformed is transmitted. So we always want to make sure that if we are dealing with our pain, that we are taking it and we're redirecting it, or we're transforming it, we're processing it, because otherwise it will just pass on to the next person, right? So I think that's really, really important. So pain that is not transformed is transmitted.
That's amazing. Like that. Like that a lot. What about Quincy? What do you think?
In my own personal life, the closest friends, or like the people who stuck around the longest in terms of my friendships, have always been people that I met in situations where I was being like my most authentic self, Even if it was like, a friend from school, and it was like early on in school, it would have been like, this was a class where I didn't have any of my other friends, and then we met each other in that class, and then that's how it started, But it's usually always you're kind of in an uncomfortable situation, or you're being pushed into that uncomfortable situation, and you meet somebody and you guys both kind of feel the same way, and I feel like that really does strengthen the bond.
Great, that was amazing.
That's powerful still, and it's the truth. Yeah,
very true. I just wanted to end off this podcast with a news article I found from CBC. So it says the importance of healthy relationships and how to foster them on the CBC show. So it goes on to say, according to a recent piece from Harvard, good connections and social support can improve health and increase longevity. The results from Harvard meta-analyzed 148 longitude studies have involved more than 300,000 people show that people who have regular contact with family and friends and neighbors have a survival advantage compared to magnitude with kicking the smoking habit, and twice as large as longevity benefits. This comes from exercising regularly or maintaining a normal weight. Honesty is the best policy. Do not be judgmental. Show that you care. An apology goes a long way. I feel like this article just wraps up everything we said in a short term, because talked about what a good friendship is. You have to have honesty, and then we built up a long friendship that we don't judge each other, and then we show if you have a genuine friendship, the person cares a lot about you and what you think. So yeah. Thank you for guys. I want to thank our guests for coming in today and spreading some great knowledge that's very useful.
Thank you both to you, Renee, and you, Quincy, for joining us today, and honestly sharing so much knowledge with us and I bet our viewers will also benefit from. In addition to that, so with that being said, that's the end of today's podcast, and see you next time.